Welcome back to the CFA Society Cyprus podcast, where we explore financial topics that matter to you. In today's episode, hosted by Nikos Potamaris, President of CFA Society Cyprus, we explore the Cyprus Stock Exchange and its role in bridging opportunities in financial markets. We will cover what the exchange is, the benefit it offers to the investors, and its future goals. Whether you are an experienced investor or just getting started, understanding the role of the exchange is key to navigating the financial landscape. This podcast is for informational purposes only. This discussion does not constitute investment advice. The views expressed are those of the speakers and do not reflect the opinions of CFA Society Cyprus, the CFA Institute, or the employers of the host or guest. Today, we are honored to welcome Mr. Nikos Tripatsas, Acting General Manager of Cyprus Stock Exchange. Mr. Tripatsas has been with the exchange for over 30 years. Over the years, he has held key positions, including Chief Officer, before being appointed Acting General Manager in May 2017 by the Public Council of Ministers. He has led major projects such as securities dematerialization, regulatory reforms, and international cooperation, contributing significantly to the exchange development. Nikos also represents the exchange as a director at the European Central Securities Depositories Association. Welcome, Mr. Tripatsas, and thank you for accepting our podcast invitation.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for your invitation. I'm to your disposal to discuss further the matters of mutual interest.
Thank you very much. So let's start with the basics. What is a trading venue, its purpose, and how it operates in terms of revenue streams?
Okay. The trading venue actually is a place where the trading of listed securities take place. So this is actually the traditional role of the Cyprus of an exchange. Of course, in our case, I have to mention that the Cyprus Stock Exchange is not only a trading venue, that is the place, where the trading of securities takes place, but also we act as a role of a central securities depository in our country. We do provide the whole, I would say, spectrum or circle of the trading cycle. Because, as you are aware, any transaction to take place is not, it does not only constitute of the matching of a trade, but it also involves the clearing and settlement, the exchange of money. I would say, I would put it in a more simple way, and also, most importantly, the registration of each new investor who acquires securities. So we do operate the whole, I would say, circle in Cyprus, and I'm mentioning that because in other countries there are separate roles and entities and companies providing these, let's say, operations. In our case, we do provide the whole cycle. Okay, the Cyprus Stock Exchange has been operational since 1996 in accordance with the relevant legislation, which at that time was passed by the House of Parliament in Cyprus. And since then, it's operational, let's say, smoothly and normally for the last nearly 30 years. The exchange actually, in the exchange, we list securities by interested issuers of securities to provide, for the listing of equities, of shares, of bonds, of corporate bonds, or government bonds. We do list a number of securities, and we do provide on a daily basis in our trading venue an electronic trading operation. We do operate between 10:30 to 15:20 on a so-called continuous trading within this other time. Mm-hmm. So everything is done electronically for the last, let's say, 15 years or even more. And all securities in our central securities registry are kept on a so-called dematerialized form. That is, they are all electronically. The registration of each investor is on electronic form and basis, and there is no paper circulating for this operation, and there are no titles that used to be in the past. Everything is on a dematerialized.
Okay. So the exchange as a whole, it falls under the Ministry of Finance, and the budget it's pre-approved every year, like any other organization that falls within the umbrella of the
Yes.
Ministry of Finance.
The exchange under the legislation is so-called a public corporate body. It's actually a semi-governmental organization. It is governed by its own council, which is appointed every 5 years by the Council of Ministers. And its budget is a separate budget by the governmental one, of course. And the budget is submitted through the Council of Ministers each year to the Parliament for approval.
Okay. So in terms of, as you've mentioned, the exchange has been in operation since
Yeah.
1996. And since then until today, obviously a lot of listed companies and type of shares, bonds, etc., were listed on the exchange. Which major sectors were represented on the exchange, and what was the main demand from the people investing in the exchange?
Yes, many companies have been listed from various sectors of the economy. Traditionally, the banking sector was mainly, I would say, the backbone of the exchange in terms of market capitalization and volumes. Of course, a number of companies were listed also from the industrial sector. We do have, for example, the cement company and a number of other companies which are purely industrial companies. And we also have a number of companies coming from the hotel and leisure industry, but mainly from the hotels. So these are mainly the most important sector traditionally. Of course, the biggest one traditionally used to be the financials, including the banking sector. Yeah.
Till
Yes,
today, basically.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, yes. So I will touch upon this later on because it's a discussion that I know we had before in the past, and I would like to expand on that for the benefit of our audience. But before I get there, I would like to ask. So the exchange began operation in 1996. It experienced its peak and growth mainly in the late 1990s, where at that point speculative trading started taking place. So, having said that, what actions have been taken by the exchange to address this, and what were the key milestones since then?
Okay, yes, you've mentioned, I mean, the initial, I would say, development of the exchange. Since then, a number of things or milestones have been have happened in the exchange. One major project that the exchange undertook was the dematerialization of the listed securities, which took place between 2000 and 2003. Actually, before that time, the listed issuers, the companies, have been issuing certificates, titles, and after that, the automated progress, I mean, through the dematerialization took place, and this was a major, I would say, milestone because since then we're operating on a more modern and secure, I would say, environment regarding the settlement process and the clearing and settlement process and the registration of new investors on the central registry of the exchange. And of course, that project resulted in the reduction of the whole cost of the industry, also of the market, because as you can imagine, all listed companies at that time had their own registry department, I would say, and all this cost, I mean, has been reduced because this has been moved centrally to the exchange and electronically, and this provided a major reduction cost both for the exchange and also for the listed issuers. This was, I mean, something important. On the other hand, since then, a number of new European directives and regulatory obligations were put in place, on the European landscape, and also on our case, since then, we have been trying to incorporate, I mean, all these changes happening on the European environment, and a lot of legislations or regulations have been amended, all this, so as to be able to in line with the major European markets. Another important, I would say, important milestone throughout the years was the full automation of our operations, and also the cooperation agreement that we had since 2006 with the Athens Exchange. And since then, we are operating, with a system, with electronic trading and settlement systems that the Athens Exchange also has. And this also was a major change because we have given the opportunity to our members, to our stockbroking companies to quite easily get a registration and to be members on the Athens Exchange by using their MiFID passport, so to be able to operate in the market. And since then, of course, our members can serve their clients not only on the Cyprus Stock Exchange listed security, but also on the securities which are listed on the Athens market. The same happens with the Greek members. The biggest, I would say, the major Greek members, since then, are also members on a remote basis, but from Athens in our market, and respectively, they can also serve their clients in Cyprus whenever they see there's interest, of course, to acquire or sell Cypriot stocks on the market. So this operation since then was given to our members, and since then also we have also introduced the operation of the custodians, the banks, so which also have also a specific role in this trading cycle, and therefore Greek banks are custodians remotely in our systems. Cypriot banks are custodians on the Greek market, and they can respectively serve their clients on both markets. So this was another major, I would say, change, major development that we had. And of course, a lot of smaller, I would say, projects since then were done, either for compliance purposes, as I told you before, or for modernizing the exchange and changing a number of new procedures. And the last, I would say, is that at present we're working on another big project, I would say, which is the privatization of the exchange. But I can elaborate further.
Yes.
I'd say a bit later, on this, which is very important. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So perhaps I should move on in terms of how do the companies and investors benefit? I mean, how does a company get listed on the venue, and how do they in general raise capital through the venue?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say, Mr. Potamaris, that personally, and as an exchange, we see the exchange as a major tool for the economy, and the exchange. The Cypriot enterprises and Cypriot ecosystem, in our view, should coordinate their efforts so as to advance the exchange further and have a role of being a very important tool for both the companies, of course, the investors, and also the economy in general. And the major role of each exchange is not only, to provide a trading venue for interested investors to invest, either, be able to gain, profit or whatever. This is one role, I would say. But the biggest role in the economy of the exchange is to assist the companies to raise the required funds for their development. So this is the role of each exchange, and this is something that also, is in the front of the activities of the European Union as well at that point, is to bring in, more investors in the market, and most importantly, is to provide, the opportunity to the most, promising, I would say, projects to be able to raise capital through the exchange. This is the role of the exchange, and of course, respectively, this should also take place in Cyprus, and this should be, our guidance for the future, is how, we'll be able to assist the companies to raise the required, funds from the exchange. Now, how can a company do this? A company can proceed, for example, in the first time there's interest to get a listing, it can proceed and make an IPO, an initial public offering, to the investors. In that sense, they can issue new share capital and give the opportunity to investors to participate in that IPO. This is one let's say, way of raising fund. The other is that once a company meets the criteria, gets of the exchange, get a listing, start trading, it can then within the market can proceed whenever the strategically they consider. Accordingly, they can proceed to raise money through a rights issue to their investors or to any other strategic investors that would like to participate in the market. On the end, over and above the ability to issue shares and raise new capital in the way I have just, there's another opportunity. There's another, let's say, they have also the ability to raise money through corporate bonds, which is another instrument that can be listed on the exchange. So this is more or less, the ways that the company, one company can proceed to raise capital. So I would like to emphasize that the most important role of an exchange is to provide the ability to interested companies to deploy their promising projects and raise money, and this will benefit not only the companies but also the economy in general. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So in today's financial ecosystem, so what type of financial instruments you see that there's demand to be listed on the venue? So I'm referring specifically for the government bonds, the corporate bonds, considering the benefit of the taxation in Cyprus, as well as green bonds, ECMs.
Yeah.
So please elaborate on that.
Yes. Apart from the equities, which is a traditional way of capital raising, yes, I would agree with you that another, let's say, type of instrument which is of interest to a number of companies that are considering that issue is a corporate bond. On the corporate bond side, I have to mention that in the last couple of years, based on a suggestion that we have provided via the Ministry of Finance, the Parliament has decided, to change the taxation on the tax deducted on corporate bonds. Before this amendment that was passed from the Parliament, there was a 30% deduction on each on the distribution of interest on the corporate bonds. Since that change that passed from the Parliament, this has been reduced to 3% in order to be harmonized with the rate that the government bonds have on the tax deduction on the payment of interest. And of course, since then there was a gradual interest to consider the listing of corporate bonds by a number of companies. A number of companies, even banks, a number of other companies have since then listed a number of corporate bonds. And of course, the same rate and the same process applies, as you said, about the green bonds. The green bonds are very, let's say, popular, I would say, worldwide and in Europe because of the climate change and the green, I would say, policy, and that it is, let's say, introduced, on the European Union, or targeted, I would say. And of course, since then, there is also appetite, I would say, for examining also the ability to issue and list green bonds. Actually, last year we had the first green bond that was issued and listed on the Cyprus Stock Exchange. A number of other companies have approached us and considering also the possibility of the green bonds, and we expect that also that this market will flourish in the future. I would say through the Cyprus Stock Exchange. So this is another option. Regarding the issue of the government bonds, I have to say that the government bonds are listed also on the Cyprus Stock Exchange. However, at the moment, there were no issues by the government to involve a number of small and private investors so to at the same time to increase the secondary market, I would say, on the Cyprus Stock Exchange. Of course, we have also submitted suggestions to the government in order to proceed also to a number of domestic, I would say, issues of bonds addressed mainly to private investors, and this will also, let's say, increase the interest of investors to participate on the initial issue, on the primary issue of the bonds, and also to activate also the secondary market on the stock exchange. So the government bonds is an important also instrument that needs to be developed via the Cyprus Stock Exchange. I also have to say that in cooperation with the Ministry of Finance, last year we have been able to list also on a dual basis the Eurobonds that are listed by the Cyprus government. Before that bonds, the so-called EMTNs, were issued in the European market, and since then they are only listed on another exchange, namely on the London Stock Exchange. We manage, via a link we've done with another depository, the Swiss SIX Depository and Stock Exchange. We've made a link so as to facilitate for cross-border moves of stocks. And since then, we have also listed the EMTNs here in Cyprus as well, for instance, last year. So since last year, since April, the EMTNs are listed both on a dual basis in London and in Cyprus. So this is more or less another development that we have done last year. But there is potential, I would agree with you, to increase also the domestic bonds market. Yes, that's good potential. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Moving on, the generation of the 90s are taking over in terms of managing the family's portfolios and approaching the peak period of their careers. So, how can an individual trade on the exchange? And to expand on that, how can younger generations in general find out what their family's portfolios are in value and if they exist, and how can they liquidate their portfolios?
In order for somebody to be able to trade on the Cyprus Stock Exchange, it needs to open a trading account with one of the operators, actually of the stock brokerage firms, which are registered and operational on the Cyprus Stock Exchange. So there is a specific process to do this. So somebody has to contact one of the operators that he would like to cooperate with, to discuss with him, and also identify what are the fees and the rest, and the process. And somebody can open an account and be able to trade with one or more operators on the Cyprus Stock Exchange. At the same time, just to answer your question, if there are holdings, or let's say property or holdings that have been acquired in the past by their parents, or by other, for example, relatives or whatever, yes, somebody can contact one of the operators and also look into the issue and see, whether there are holdings, if they exist, what are their present value, whatever, and how can be able to again trade or increase, this portfolio.
To add a question, to expand on the operators, how can someone find out who these operators are? Are they listed on the website?
Yes, they are of course listed. On our website, they are properly operational and approved by the exchange. Somebody can contact directly and find out what's happening with this property. Of course, if somebody has, if for example, let's say one from a young generation, in case where his parents have died, or has the estate of this, for example, in accordance with the court, he can bring in the relevant documentation here on the exchange, or even to one of the operators, and again identify and find out what current value of the holding and how can move forward on this. So yes, that is process, but somebody can contact either the exchange or can contact one of the operators to see to find out what's happening with this property. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And since we are discussing about individuals, and given the evolving global financial environment, especially the younger generations now use other platforms such as Revolut, which are platforms that they've known before, discussing or thinking about making any investments. So it's easier for them to navigate through these applications or platforms. So obviously that provides a challenge to the exchange in order to attract new investors. So what does the exchange intend to action on this?
Well, I would agree with you. I also have children, and I see, from their friends, and that they are used, to cooperate in a new environment, and also to trade, this. And I know that There is also the new product of the cryptos, and which are, I would say, sorry for the word, more sexy, I would say, for everybody, and especially for young people to trade. Okay, that's life. This is a competition, and you cannot stop it. Of course, we know that this trend exists, and that. So, what can we do from our side? We do have to strengthen our infrastructure and our operation. This is what we do, I mean, on a periodic basis. Most importantly, we have to increase our products and services offered to the investors and also our markets. And that's why we are putting, I mean, a lot of effort to the increase of our product and also to be able to list more companies on the exchange. I mean, if we be able to trade to increase the product of the exchange, then a part of this volume will also pass, I mean, to the exchange. And by saying that, I have to say that we did run, I mean, in the last couple of years, a very big campaign to inform a number of entrepreneurs, of businessmen in Cyprus, either through the Chamber of Commerce with a number of seminars, either with direct contacts, to also to explain, I mean, to the businessmen in Cyprus what are the benefits and the characteristics of the exchange, and why you have to also they also have to consider the exchange as an option for their business. And on the other hand, we have the view that also the government should assist the whole process. By saying that, I have to say that we have recently submitted a number of suggestions for a number for tax incentives to be provided to the securities market. At the moment, there is a process of a, let's say, radical tax reform in let's say preparation in Cyprus. So we have also submitted these suggestions via the Ministry of Finance to the relevant committee to consider a number of tax incentives to be provided in Cyprus, because also through our let's say campaigns and direct contacts with a number of businessmen, there is appetite to enter the exchange. Of course, this appetite is going to be more easily materialized if there are a number of tax incentives that could be provided to the ecosystem, to the entrepreneurs in Cyprus to consider the listing on the exchange. There are, Mr. Potamaris, a number of very good companies in Cyprus which they could consider the option of getting a listing on the exchange from various sectors, even startups, even pharmaceutical companies, maritime companies. In a number of sectors, there are very good companies that could consider the exchange. And should the government provide a number of tax incentives, yes, this will be helpful to facilitate the thinking of getting a listing on the exchange. And at the same time, why not the government should also, let's say, assist the number of public corporate bodies, semi-governmental organizations. Why not to list, for example, to start with exchange, to list a bond to a number of bonds on the exchange. I wouldn't go to the political issue of the privatization of other organizations, but why not? I mean, at the moment, at present, a number of big semi-governmental organizations to consider also listing corporate bonds on the Cyprus Stock Exchange. So, with all these initiatives, if we will be able to materialize this initiative and be able to increase our product, going back to your question, yes, if you increase your product and you have attractive products, yes, even young people could also consider the investments on these products.
Okay, so interesting. So yesterday, I mean, as CFA Society Cyprus, we are promoting financial literacy. We have been doing a lot of work over the past years and joined as a consultant for the committee of the ministry, which falls under the umbrella of the Central Bank of Cyprus, the GEHAP. And recently, the President of the Republic of Cyprus has announced the expansion of financial literacy courses to the gymnasium grades, one is first, second, and third grade, which is a crucial step in terms of empowering students with essential financial skills. So, obviously, we have a memorandum of understanding between our between our organizations. So perhaps the exchange, along with the CFA Society Cyprus, could take advantage and continue doing promoting the educational campaigns in the younger generations. When they come out of schools, at least they understand the risk, the options, and transparency, and what the regulations contribute towards the transparency.
I,
So
I,
perhaps
yeah.
there is room to
Just
work on that together.
of course, it's a very good idea. I fully agree with you. And just to let you know, I think in the last month we have also took the initiative to send a letter to the Minister of Education, especially for this reason. And even before that, but even after also this our initiative, I mean, frequently a number of gymnasiums or let's say secondary schools, let's say are coming to the exchange, and we do provide a number of presentations to them, of course, to proceed with this literacy and also to educate, I would say, the young generation about the stock market, the mechanism, and the procedures and the rest. Yeah, of course, this is something we are we already are doing, but of course, I would very happy, I mean, to cooperate also and put them in on a more, let's say, structured way.
Okay. So I will move on in terms of the status. So, what steps should be taken for the exchange to achieve the status that people expect from a venue? I mean, is this being addressed by proposing to list Cyprus utility companies or government projects in an effort to raise capital for the construction of the projects, such as hospitals, universities, etc.?
Well, I have already mentioned the issue of a semi-governmental organization partially, but I will elaborate a bit further. Of course, as you can understand, this is more of a governmental approach. I mean, to let's say to list, I mean, a number of these projects. Of course, we'll be very happy to have a number of these projects on the exchange. Of course, we also follow, I mean, what's happening with a number of projects and the way they are seeking for finance. Of course, I would say that this initiative should also consider the Cyprus Stock Exchange. Why not? This is a very good option. I would agree with you. I would be very happy to see such companies on the exchange. Of course, there are also a number of other projects that let's say in the last years or periodically we see that they are progressing and for which the government in some cases provides licenses or whatever, I mean, to operate in Cyprus, like for example, big leisure projects, casinos, marinas, or whatever, or all these projects. And I would say that it would be a good idea. I mean, also, if the government should also consider the option provided to them to get a listing on the exchange. But by getting a listing on the exchange, since they are operational in Cyprus, I would say that, and also for the companies, is going to be a good option to familiarize with the public here in Cyprus, since they have their own presence. It would be a good idea to have the company listed on the exchange. Why not? Yes.
But this doesn't mean that the government should or the government or private companies. I mean, in terms of starting a new project and looking for funds, maybe it's an expansion to existing infrastructure. So the universities or the hospitals, perhaps when they tend to expand or develop further and enhance the facilities, that is another option. So that is
Yes.
also a route that is
Yes.
available through the exchange.
Yes. Yes. I
Okay.
would agree with you. Yeah.
So how will the privatization? So you mentioned that there's a turning page now. So
Yes.
on the privatization of the exchange, I know for a fact that this happened in many other exchanges in the world. So for example, in Iceland, there was a stock bubble in, again, late 1990s, if I remember correctly, which merged with Nasdaq and enabled cross-border trading, focused on more resilient sectors, and focused again also on the government bond issuance as being attractive for the investors. So how will the privatization help turn the page for our exchange?
Well, the privatization is a project that is now under implementation. Of course, there were thoughts and discussions in the past, as far as I remember, but it was only in the last years that these have been put on a, I would say, on a structural mode. And this actually started by decision taken by the previous government, was back in 2021, I think, by the government of President Anastasiadis, which took a decision to proceed to the privatization. And since then, a number of actions, I would say, took place. First of all, a number of process was run to hire consultants. This process was done, and at present the consultants are there and preparing the infrastructure for the privatization. At the same time, a new legislation was drafted, and at present the legislation is under the required review by the Attorney General's office and is in the final stages, as far as I know, to complete the whole process. Quite shortly, we expect that the bill is going to be tabled in front of the parliament to be passed, and after this, it will open the corridor, I would say, to run an international tender to seek a strategic investor to acquire the Cyprus Stock Exchange. This is the process where it stands at the moment, the progress of this project. And we would expect that interest will be received by a number of exchanges, because the requirement in accordance with the legislation is for the exchange to be acquired by another exchange. And this was formed having in mind that another exchange could help our exchange to increase its products, its let's say its know-how and expertise, and be able, to let's say compete, I would say, in the future with more adequate resources. So we expect that once, the international tender is run, hopefully this, here is the intention based on the relevant timetable. We'll be able, to know by the end of this year, hopefully, who is going to take the exchange, and we'll take it from there. We expect that by having strategic investor on the exchange, this will facilitate the whole process of entering into new products, of entering into new, to a new era, I would say, for the exchange. And this will help, all we have said before, to be able, to have new companies, new products on the exchange, and increase, the interest of the investors about the exchange.
So in terms of timelines, do you believe 26 our exchange will be privatized and there will be a new era for what holds in the future?
If things run smoothly, we don't have any exogenous, I would say, let's say, reasons or whatever, I guess, yes, we'll be able, to have a new owner and a new era for the exchange, yes.
And in terms of the practicalities, so this it will open the doors for listed shares or companies, and people will be able to invest in Cyprus, or will this facilitate dual listing? What will be specifically the benefit for the audience as well for the investors?
The emphasis will be to strengthen, to increase the Cyprus Stock Exchange and not, let's say, other markets. Of course, it depends, who will be actually the successful bidder, of the process. But the aim is to strengthen our market, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Dribatsas, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you again. And let's see what the future holds. And I'm sure our CFA Society Cyprus and the Cyprus Stock Exchange will continue working in empowering financial literacy. And I look forward to what the future holds. Thank you very much.
I would also like to thank you for this opportunity that gave me to present a few things about the exchange. Of course, we couldn't cover, everything, on this short, I would say, let's say, story, but I am at your disposal, also for any future, let's say, new podcasts or new, let's say, discussions, because I honestly believe that the exchange should take, a better coverage, on the media, and also, and even on the new generations you mentioned before, and also have the opportunity to deploy, what we do and how we can serve the economy, the companies, and the market. Yeah. These are all actually of the
Yes,
exchange, and we have to focus on this area. Yes.
I agree. It's a critical factor to our economy, and by the end of the day, there's only one venue in the island. So
Yes.
we should be taking advantage of that and promoting it, and many contributors to use that to their advantage for their own benefit or their clients.
And especially, Mr. Potamaris, since we are also all repeating that we are, say, a services economy and a regional hub and whatever, this could not happen, I mean, without having a strong stock exchange. And so it's a very good securities market. It is very vital, I mean, to have a strong securities market in order to be able to also tackle this role. Yeah.
That's a story for another day. So I'm sure we will continue on this. Thank you very much again, and until next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
and have success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.